Morning, everybody. It's your boy D Mac. So I'm back. I have another topic that I want to talk about because it's something that I sit around and I just be thinking about stuff, and something will come up in my mind that I'll just bring to the table. So I'm just bringing this to the table. There's been times where I look at people, and it's not necessarily somebody that's close to me. It's just somebody that I meet, and I'll see some qualities in that person, and based on those qualities that I see in that person, I keep my distance from them. Now, what makes that so significant is the fact that those qualities are things that I see in myself and things that I probably haven't overcome, something that I'm still struggling with that I don't like about myself. And when I see it in somebody else, I tend to not like that person, or I tend to be very short with that person. You know what I'm saying? Treat them a certain kind of way. And I try to be more mindful of that, but that's just something that we do as people. Um, do anybody else do that? And if so, when you recognize yourself doing that, how do you combat that? How do you try to give that person the benefit of the doubt, even though you see some of your bad behaviors and your bad tendencies in them? The way that I do it is, I observe the person for a while. Like I said, I keep them at a distance and really observe and see how they handle those attributes. Is it something that has taken control of them and they have no idea that they're even operating in that? Are they a person who know that they're operating in those things and they're doing it intentionally? Or, are they somebody who understand what they're going through like me and just don't know how to deal with it or know how to handle it? So I have to sit back and I have to observe that person so that I can make that determination and then go from there, because like I said, I'm always in the vein of bringing somebody up, speaking life into a situation. So if it's something that I see in them that I've dealt with and that I've overcome, then I'm going to start talking. I'm not going to start telling them what they need to do and pointing the finger. That's one thing that I know I hate. Peace, peace. How you doing, Hurricane Kilo? Blessings, truth lady. So I'm not going to come in and start pointing the finger and telling you need to do this because I did this and this worked for me. And look at, I don't do that. I don't do that at all. What I do is I try to come in a manner of making myself the object or the topic of the conversation, and just making myself the example. It's kind of like how the prophet did with David whenever he wanted to confront him about messing with old girl Bathsheba and whatnot. And so I had to come. I have to think about it. I'll be like, use myself as the topic and just tell them, some of the struggles that I have and some of the negative effects that it's taken on my life by me not dealing with that thing. And I won't let on that I know that they're dealing with it. I won't even act like I notice it in them. And I'll just be talking about myself. Man, this is an example of what I would do. I'd be like, man, bro, you know what? I can be a little bit narcissistic sometimes. So I just keep myself mindful of my narcissism because I don't want to come in here and be a certain way to you. And that's not fair to you, and I come off on a person like that. And in an indirect way, I'm letting that person, I'm giving them an opportunity to use some information to help themselves out without really fronting them. You said, I've never met anyone like me. I'm different. Hey, well, they say everybody got a twin though. So it's a doppelganger of you out there somewhere. They might not have your mannerisms or your thought process, but it's a doppelganger out there for every single person. But hey, that's a good attitude to carry. I carry that attitude a little bit myself. That's why I have to dial back my narcissism sometimes. And uh, so when we was talking earlier, and Cynthia was saying how she couldn't rock with Steve Harvey because of his arrogance. I had to play devil's advocate on that because I'm a narcissist myself, and I understand like when you're in a leadership role, you have to be confident. So, yeah, yeah. But you say you love to meet them. I know, right? I think I met my doppelganger. I was out here when I first got to Killeen. I started going to this ministry, and it was this dude named Reggie, and I was standing somewhere, and somebody called me Reggie. I was like, Reggie, some Reggie, ain't no Reggie. And so it happened about two or three more times. Who is this Reggie dude y'all keep calling me? And then the dude came in. I was like, man, this dude don't look nothing like me, you know. And it wasn't until I saw a picture. Cause me and him eventually we ended up getting cool with each other. But I always said, man, we don't look alike. And so we would go to different events and stuff like that. And you with your boys and stuff, you take pictures and stuff. So there was a picture in my car, and I like, yes, I ain't got no shirt like this. Like, when I take this picture, it was Reggie. I like, damn, we do look alike. So everybody do got that twin though. But yeah, back to what I was saying though. There's yeah, let me put that up there. Yeah, I definitely love to meet my doppelganger too. But I lost my train of thought for a second. Back to oh yeah. So whenever I meet a person and I see that they have some of them qualities in themselves that I deal with, I use myself as the object of the conversation, and I just give them some suggestions on some things that will work or try to work on. I because I most people are so offended you can't come at them like you're a mentor or a leader all of the time. There's a lot of people who have a problem with authority figures. And so if you come into their life as an authority figure, they're gonna be like, oh, here we go, another one of them, and they're gonna instantly tune you out, block you out. So, there's a way of coming at people without having to offend them whenever you recognize some bad qualities in them that you dealt with before. And that's all I'm really talking about, because I don't want to be mistreating somebody just off of stuff like that. I'm harboring bad feelings to them because I recognize those spirits that they operate in. It's that familiar spirits. That whole term is real. It's really real. And I can identify a certain spirit in a person that I operate in. If I operate in the spirit of whoredom, then I'm going to recognize somebody else who operate in that spirit. It's very strong, it's very distinct. And like I said, if you know, it's one of those types of deals. So when you come across somebody who's operating on the same level that you're operating on, or operating in the same spiritual area that you're operating in, you're going to pick up on it really quick. You're going to pick up on it really quick. And that's why a lot of times whenever you meet new people and y'all are in that same level of spiritual or in that same spiritual area, y'all gonna click with each other, and you're gonna be like, hey, what's going on, love? We appreciate you for coming in. And y'all gonna click with each other. It's something about you, man. You cool. It's that those familiar spirits identify with each other, and often they'll either do one or two things. Either they'll link up with each other, or they'll begin to go against each other because they're battling for a position of dominance. And so just recognize that this is something that I do. It's called the spirit of discernment, and it's just recognizing different energy in people. That's all it really is in layman's terms, is recognizing people energy, what type of vibe they have, and how they coming at you. you know, and that's something that you don't even, it don't have to even be spoken. It can be some, it's just, like I said, you identify their spirit by their behavior, by the way they carry themselves, by the way that they present themselves and articulate their points and all of that different stuff like that. So once you start to recognize what spirit this person is operating in and you deal with them from that standpoint, you have to be very, very careful, you know, because people will get offended if you start calling stuff out. And so I'm just mindful of that because you get more flies with honey than you do with shit. That's what they say. I don't know if that's true or not. Some require shit, some require honey, but you got to be able to supply both. So slippery slope whenever it come down to stuff like that. But said you're brutally honest, which turns some people off. Yeah, it comes down to tact is really what it comes down to, because sometimes there's, even though you're speaking the truth, you have to ask yourself first, is it my place to speak it? How am I speaking it, and will it be received well? You know, and you have to ask those three questions if you really want to be effective in relaying a message to somebody else. And um, whenever I do that, a lot of times I have to shut up because it's not my place to speak it. And so I just keep my peace, and then somebody else will come out and say it, and I'd be like, and then I see the reaction that is given to that person, and I'd be like, well, I'm glad I didn't speak. You know, so it happens. It happens. It depends on the person. Exactly right. Um, yeah. We're going in today and just talking about some things that I know I deal with personally. I met this little kid and he was dating my daughter. And I could not stand that dude for nothing in the world because he was so much like me at that age. And I'm just looking at this dude going through all the motions that I used to go through, all the little slick shit that I used to do to gain the trust of the parents. I was real, yeah, I really had that wolf in sheep's clothing thing down pat. I had it down pat. And so I see this dude come in and I see him with all of the yes ma'ams and no ma'ams and yes sirs and no sirs and all of that stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, I done played that game to the T. I've done that so many times, and they thinking they leaving their daughters in the hands of a responsible young man, a respectable young man. And I was the worst of the worst of the worst. And so yeah, I'm really big on when I recognize certain things that people are operating in. Let me keep an extra eye on that person and really see where they're coming from and what they really want. And it's sad that you have to do that, but you got to protect your spirit. You got to protect your heart nowadays because people are coming at you and they cutthroat for any small reason. And I was talking the other day about how words really do hurt. A lot of people on this internet are hurt by nothing but words because we really don't have the physical interactions like that. Some may do that live in the same areas or whatever, but for the most part, as a collective, we don't use anything but words. So our way of connecting and communicating on here is through simply words, and words do hurt. I've seen people whole channels taken down because of words. The right grouping of words in the right atmosphere can do a whole lot of damage. Just like a drip of water over 100 years can split a boulder. Just keep on dropping it, and it can do major damage. You've seen lives destroyed because of it. And so when I start to see these types of words can cut. So when I start to see these types of behaviors in people, I just kind of, I fall back. I fall back. see what their true intent is. If it's a person who's really understanding that I have these qualities and I acknowledge that, and I need to be mindful whenever I'm dealing with other people, I can deal with somebody that's doing that because they're willing to acknowledge their faults. Anybody who's not willing to acknowledge their faults, I can't rock with you at all. I really can't. You say stay praying, ask God to guide your steps and guard your tongue. And see, that's my thing. This tongue, man. That's taming. If you tame your tongue, you can become the wisest person in the world. And this is one of the hardest things to do for me. Um, I, I I put a lot on words. I consider myself a wordsmith. I write poetry. I write songs. I've written a couple of novels that I need to do something with, but that's neither here nor there. I write. I'm very big on words, the meaning of words, people being able to use them in the right context. All of that stuff is really important, and we've lost a lot of that. And so I'm real big on my speech and how I come across. And sometimes I can't guard my tongue. That's one of my inadequacies that I notice about myself that I'm working on. And you'll see it whenever I get upset. If I ever get upset and start going off about something, you'll definitely see what I'm talking about. I mean, I can be real nasty, real, ooh, it cuts deep. And, people like, whoa, time out. I'm one of those people that you have to be like, time out, because I will begin to say things that, hold up, that ain't even got nothing to do with this. Now you just going to a whole nother level. But that's pretty much what happens whenever I get to a certain level of anger. And so I just back off. I chill out. You say you have that problem too. You can't guard your tongue sometimes. Yeah, it's a challenge. It's one of the biggest challenges that we as mankind have, because if you think about it, the words that we speak create so much. God created this world by speaking these things into existence. He spoke that. And so words have the power to create. And so whenever I start creating, it's hard for me to stop that creation that I'm bringing about, especially if I mean it. And I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. So in that moment, I'm never going to apologize for what I said. I may apologize for how I said it. That's it. That's all I can really apologize for, is how I said it. Because for every action, there's a reaction. So if you say something that caused me to give you a response that may hurt your feelings, then most of the time, I'm pretty sure it's warranted. And I'm never going to just lash out at people just for no reason, unless we roasting each other, and that's all in fun. But as far as just picking on somebody and just verbally abusing somebody, nah, I'm not going to do that unless you give me a reason to. So you said you used to have lip. Hey, that's a blessing. That's a blessing. I'm striving for that, truth lady. I definitely am striving for that, because I'm like that when I get angry. All right, I've already given y'all the analogy. I'm Bruce Banner most of the time. I'm Bruce Banner, just chilling, minding my own business, staying calm, relaxing back in my chair like this, just cooling, enjoying life. But when somebody comes forth who wants a problem, then I turn to the Hulk. There's no in between. There's no happy medium. There's either Bruce or Hulk. And when I go Hulk, ain't nobody gonna stop it. Ain't nobody gonna control it. It's gonna be what it is until the anger wears off and I turn back to Bruce. That's just what it is. And so for a person to push me to the level where I get angry, that means you have to do a lot of pushing. Because remember, Bruce never wanted to turn to the Hulk. That was always the last resort. And what did he tell him? Don't make me angry. You won't like me when I'm angry. So if a person continues to push after you giving that disclaimer, whatever Hulk smash. And it just is what it is. And so I do try to stay quiet. I do try to stay in the background and stay neutral out of stuff, because somebody mess around and say something to me and they don't even have to say it directly to me. If they be like, I slap everybody in here. You'll slap what? You'll slap who? Oh, bro, that's all inclusive. Now I gotta get with you, because you got to know that you won't slap everybody in here. And so I just mind my business, Bruce Banner, and that's the way I be with it. And when I see other people who have that type of mentality, then I try to help them out, especially if they're struggling with something, and I know that it's an easy fix if they're willing to listen, and if they're willing to accept what I'm trying to bring to them. And that's a lot of the times that's the way that I build rapport with these dudes in the streets and with these gang members. It's through anger management. I done been through every anger management course that the VA could give. Shoot, since 2012. I've been going to anger management therapy and all of this stuff. So I got a treasure trove of what do they call them? Defense mechanisms, coping mechanisms. Man, I got that stuff. I can read that stuff in and out like the back of my hand. But it's still one thing to know this stuff and to apply it to your life. And so that's where the problem comes in, is the practical application of all of these modules and helpful things to your life. I do it every now and then. Sometimes I succeed, sometimes I don't. But I'm trying. I'm mindful of it. And so whenever I see somebody who exhibits all of the behaviors that I've worked through, and I come at them and I try to help them, and they give pushback and they don't want no help, cool. I have no problem sitting back and letting you go through the process necessary for you to experience what I was about to tell you. I ain't got no problem with that, and my feelings won't be hurt, no love lost, none of that. I'm like I'll come and I'll bring forth some information to you. If you don't accept it, you reject it, I'm gonna kick the dust off my heels and I'm gonna keep it moving to the next place. I'm not gonna sit here and argue with you and try to force you to take something that's gonna make your life better. I'm not gonna force you. I'm going to offer it to you. You say yay or nay, bad. Say less, and I'm on to the next. And that's just how it goes. You have to be like that, because if you spend so much time with one person, then you're going to miss out on other opportunities to help others. That's something else I had to learn in leadership was you can't help somebody who don't want to be helped. And at some point, they're going to let you know that they don't want that help. And you have to be willing to say, okay, and not take it personal and move on to the next. All right, that's it. Stand firm on truth. Stand firm on truth all the time. And like I said, if they don't want to accept it, then you move along to the next. You move along to the next situation. There's always going to be opportunities to interact created for you. There's always going to be that, especially whenever you're out here and you're trying to walk in righteousness. There's always going to be opportunities for you to teach. There's always going to be opportunities for you to witness. And there's always going to be an opportunity for you to be an example to somebody else's life. We're living epistles, right? So that's just a living story. That's a tale, a novel. Your whole life, man, my book is going to be something else when it's done. I'm telling you, my life been, wow. I can't even go into depth on here and some of the stuff, but But you can't make anyone do anything. You know, you sure enough can't. I can't make. 'Cause if that was the case, then I'm pretty sure my daddy would have made me love football and love baseball. That's what he really loved. But my love was boxing. I wanted to be a boxing champion and a writer and a poet and all of that stuff. Um, I could have made my children do something, you know, be something other than what they chose to be, but that's my dream. That's my wishes, and that's their life. And so, yeah, you absolutely right. You can't make anybody do anything. Ultimately, the choice is up to them, and whatever they choose, hey, I don't agree with that, but if that's what you're gonna do, I'm gonna support you in it, and I'm gonna be here if you happen to fail. You know, that's it. Hey, salute to you, Kevin, man. Salute to everybody in the chat right now. And I'm just going over this because I come across people, and if you're in the vein of where you do, like you're a counselor or you're a mentor, anything like that, where you're interacting with people and you have to uplift and try to build people, it's very important that you know these things. You know the people. Well, you're not going to know a stranger, but you have to know the spirits that you're dealing with. You have to recognize all of this stuff. I never had any formal schooling to actually have the credentials of being a counselor. I've always been in the mentor capacity because that doesn't require no um, it don't require no certification or nothing like that to be a mentor. But what I've learned is dealing with therapists, our tactics, our mindset, is basically the same. It's just that they have been given more tools through their schooling to try to work out with the kid. Now, with me, a lot of the things that I did with the kids was based on feeling, based on my observation and my interaction with them. And so as to where the therapist, where their messages or their sessions with the kid wasn't fruitful and they couldn't really break down any barriers, because like I said, these kids have a lack of respect for authority, or they just have a fear of authority, so they're not going to allow those walls to come down because you're in the role of somebody who's trying to get information out of them. And so they see you not as somebody there to help, they see you as an enemy, and so they're going to shut down. But the position that I was in as a mentor, I was able to, first of all, I spent more time around them than more than just an hour session per week. I was with them on a daily basis all day, so I was able to build more of a relationship and more trust with those kids. So even though these people had the credentials and they had all of the degrees, they did not have the the ability to get past the walls that those kids had up. And so that's why I'm so mindful and so considerate of other people's actions and the things that they're dealing with and stuff like that, because that's just something I had to do for 3 years straight, just to crack these hard shells that these young kids be having. I'm telling you, that is one of the hardest things, is to when you have to have so much patience, so much patience to deal with just all of the pushback that you're going to get. Because I say the first 2 or 3 weeks, once a kid comes in our program, which is a residential program, they're in there once they're in there. And it takes generally about a week or two before they actually warm up to you. And it's not going to be to all staff. It's going to be one particular staff member that they uh, build a rapport with, or they have something relatable with. And so once that takes place, after that, you pretty much go from there, and that staff member will share with the rest of the staff how to deal with this child without getting them to put those walls up or getting them to just, blank out on them. And that's how we did that, through partnership networking and tag teaming on these kids. But we would always have that one person who has that rapport with them that could be more effective, and we do things through that person instead of us trying to overwhelm that child. So it's crazy. It's crazy in the sense of all of the education in the world can't teach some of the things that you do as far as having relationships with people. All of the training modules, all of the cognitive behavioral therapy modules that they put out. And this is all of the new guidelines that they use in all of psychiatry and psychology and stuff like this, especially dealing with adolescents and juveniles and stuff. And so, you know, with all of that information, all of that education and stuff like that, it's good for the clinical side. But when it comes down to the actual application of things into life, I was able to make more headway and more of effect than a lot of those therapists did. And, a lot of those therapists would take it personal. They would have a problem with the staff members who had better relationships with these kids than they did. But it was because we've been through the same thing that these kids have been through. As staff members, some of us, like I said, those kids will gravitate to somebody who has a like spirit, who has a familiar spirit. And so if you are letting the kid know, hey man, I've been through that, and you just share an instance about something that you've been through in your life that was similar to theirs, then they gonna soften up. Now I'm gonna just not gonna get into any specifics about this, but there was one instance where we had a kid who, no matter what we did or no matter what we said, he was just adamant about being reckless, destroying, disrupting, and everything. And so we did restraints at this place. Like, if you get physically out of line and you become a danger to yourself and other residents, then we will restrain you. And so some of those will have to take place. And this one particular kid, we did a restraint on him. We took him into the little area where he's able to calm down until he's able to get back to a place where he can come back into the community. And so a staff member has to be there with him. And so I just sit there. I don't say anything to him. I didn't anything. He was expecting me to get in an argument with him. He was trying to draw me in and, oh, you nigger. I mean, he went all the way, because he was a white boy. He went all the way in, everything that he could do to try to upset me and to draw me into a toxic exchange with him. And I didn't give it to him. Every single time he pushed and poked and prodded, but I didn't give it to him. And then he finally broke down. He finally broke down and, revealed something to me that was so personal and so hurtful, but it was something that I had experienced. And so I was able to let him know that he wasn't the only one that been through it. And I let him know that it wasn't his fault. And that's all that dude needed. Man, after that dude heard that, he burst into tears, had a real good cry, had a real good talk. And after that, he became probably one of the better residents there. And it was all because I recognized the spirit. That spirit resided in me. That's something I struggled with for years. And I was able to come to a place of overcoming it. And I didn't know why. Let me go back a little bit, because as a kid, I would always say, why did I have to go through this? All the way through my life, whenever that thought of what took place came up, I would always ask, why did I go through? Why me? Why not my, and it wasn't until that moment with that dude and I was able to help him and assist him in his breakthrough, that I understood and realized why I went through what I went through. I went through what I went through because on this day, this kid was going to need somebody to say, I've been there. It happened to me too. And look where I am now. That's that's why. That's why. And it won't be the last. It haven't been the last. And so when you gain understandings like this, it makes you very, very, it makes you astute. I like that word astute. You're very particular. You're always asking questions and you pay attention to detail when it comes to people. I do that a lot. And I'm able to pick out things. And so whenever I recognize those things, I'm going to, hey man, you know what? I don't know what it is, dog, but I be getting mad all the time. My road rage is just through the roof. I'm mess around and somebody gonna shoot me. I ain't gonna be around for my family if I keep on with this. And then I get up and walk away. That dude be like, this nigga, I know he got road rage. I see him, outburst a couple times, but I'm not going to say anything to him like that. But I'm going to let him know that, I dealt with that and it could bring about this right here. So that's what happened. And that's my way of just planting that seed because maybe he'll come and ask me something, or maybe it'll open up a doorway for me and him to have that conversation. But that's just what I do. That's all I'm talking about right now is just, you know, um, being able to identify those spirits. And when you see somebody who's operating in the same spirit that you have, how can you engage them? How can you make a suggestion to them without offending them? Because everybody's so offended. If you point out anything about anybody, they gonna cry. And so that's just the way that I've done it, and it's been successful. Other people have their own ways. If you're in this field and you deal with people like that, then you develop your own way to build a rapport and to break down those walls with people. So I salute y'all for coming in. Um, I'm about to go and get my day started. It's about 12. Yeah, it's noon. So I'm going to get my day started and, get a couple things done. I appreciate y'all for coming in, having this conversation with me. I might go on again later. I don't know. But we'll see, depending on what topics come up. So blessings there, everybody. Y'all know what I say, man. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.